Alrighty, man. Well, before we get into it, share your story.
So, I started, I think year and a half ago. It was September 2022. I came across probably like a ton of guys, the Iman Gatsi video about the best business model.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure I'm not the only one. So then I got into, SMA. I fell into the trap of watching a ton of videos, ton of consuming content. I got Iman's course, like so much YouTube. And then before you know, it's like December and like, what the hell have you been doing? Nothing. Took no action. Right.
Right.
So alongside before that time, I had two Instagram pages. I scaled those up to one of 300K, 120K. Just sold them both because it was kind of a distraction for me right now. I wanted to focus on one thing, which is, building the agency. And yeah, so I went to university like a lot of guys are doing right now, and I went to study for international business. But it was always been like a plan B for me, and the plan A was to, start up my own business. Like I didn't want to work for anyone else. I just wanted to build my own business. So, I started working more and more in my business, during lectures, even during, university. And yeah, just working more and more and just kind of put my school in like a sidetrack. And then in December, after like family circumstances, I decided to actually drop out. And I didn't even have my first client back then. So it was a big risk, but I, took a big bet on myself and was like back in, I think December last year, January this year, I took the bet took the leap to drop out. And from there, I just started, working more and more in my business. Still watch a ton of content, didn't put in too much action. So it's like my transformation was from watching so many videos, so many consuming. In a sense, it was a good thing to do, but it should have been like 20%, 10% maybe of my whole day, right? But it was like 80%. And it felt after day, I was like, oh shit, it was like a productive day. I watched this content, I watched about service delivery, and I was like, but now looking back at it, it's like, what did I do? Right? You could learn so much more from, taking the action, sending the actual outreach, setting the appointments, closing them. That's it. Taking the sales call, everything. Like if you watch someone else do it, like you're not gonna learn anything from it. So that's, where actually back in February, I think maybe March, I came in contact with Tony Lee. I sent him a message after watching his podcast with Joe Kaplan and Thomas Gannett. And I sent him a message because he was in the car detailing industry. I sent him a message like, "Hey, Tony, I have a car page of 300,000 followers. There are probably a ton of car detailers, and I've got want some help with my agency. Why don't I run a promo for you in there in return for you give me some value for the agency? Like I'm in the fitness niche." And then he put me in touch with you, then.
Yeah.
So I remember that first call with you, you helped a ton with because you had your, fitness industry, fitness agency,
Yeah.
and you gave me all the Facebook ads, all the value there. And then we even jumped on one of the first RC calls. Um, for me, it was my first one. You've probably been around for a couple months, so and then, got a ton of value, but these guys were so above me. Like you were talking about millions and YouTube. Like with one guy, Ryan, I remember he was talking about, having so many, YouTube play buttons. It's like, damn, these guys are like on the next level, right? And was just on my own with actually my friend from high school, and we kind of built our own agencies separately. We were just talking with each other for every day, which is a good thing to keep each other accountable. But at the same time, we didn't get that much progress done because there was so much talking, not really much doing.
Yeah.
And, we didn't really know what to do with our agency. So we kind of sought for help. And, he introduced us to RC. He actually invited us to, take a look at that, one of our calls. And then we, decided like, if we're going to want to make something, right? If we want to take it seriously, we should, invest in ourselves and join something like this to, have this group. Because I advise everyone just to have someone you can speak to, something you can get advice from, get each other some feedback. But of course, the more the better. If you have a whole group with everyone has their own agencies and different niches or whatever, you can just ask so many questions, right? And you get an answer for everyone. It's not only Dylan who's speaking. Like everyone has some piece of advice. Everyone has their experience in some certain way. So that's where I get my value from. So yeah, that's kind of my backstory. So right now, since September, or we up until September was like banging to like 2K months, not really skating. And then Dylan, he came up with one thing in September. I remember he said like you only need four things when you want to succeed in RC or even with your own agency. And those four things were track your data. I wasn't doing that. I was just like it felt like I was just with blindfolded, just driving, speeding on the highway, and just didn't know where to go. Like or it was like flying in the air and just no direction. Right? It's just so like tracking was one important thing because you cannot tweak anything if you don't have data on it. Because I made a lot of emotional decisions based on, people are hating on me in my Instagram page. And I was like, I got one hate reaction or one day I didn't book a meeting, whatever. Like I wanted to change the whole script, right? If you don't have the data, you're not gonna succeed, right? You cannot make the tweaks, you cannot improve, and you cannot have a backup and see how do you say that? You can't make proper decisions. So another thing is I'm not the big of a talker in RC itself. I kind of sit and watch, see what other people have value of. Sometimes I ask a question and I get great feedback on that. I should actually ask more, but up until September, I wasn't really talking that much. And then Dina said, yeah, if you have a problem, you should ask until you have your solution to your problem. So even if you didn't get the right answer right away or another small problem pops up, just ask, because how else are you going to solve your problems, right? And another thing is you have to, trust the other, oh, nice thumb. You have to trust, the advice you get from people, because I was still a bit of a skeptical, like, is this going to work? The advice I got from Dylan or from Alex or someone else, is it actually going to work? But these guys, they had the experience already. So I should have trust in them and that it's going to work, right? And that was the third thing. And the fourth thing was, I have it written down here, is just take immediate action, right? If you get a tip from someone and you say like you need to do this, don't wait 3-4 days to implement it. Even implement it right after the call, right? And for me, there are a lot of times where RC is for me. I'm from the Netherlands. RC is for me late at night, or it's like in the evening. It's like 6 to 7 p.m. for me right now, and you don't really want to implement it after the call, but you really should, right? Even though if you're from the US, that's even better. But if you don't implement it right away, you're gonna get so much delay in your process of when there's a new problem pops up, when can you get feedback on the next thing, right? If you just wait for a couple of days to implement it, it's gonna be so much slower. And yeah, so that's the four things, from you back in September, which shifted my mindset. And you know, other thing is the most important thing is you cannot do anything else than setting appointments and closing appointments. I mean, I've been focusing still now, didn't tell me today, don't fall into the trap of focusing too much on your service delivery.
Yeah.
Even I still do that. I'm too worried about like, am my clients getting results? But it's more about, are these clients actually putting the work, right? It's not only you, right? It's just, so that was one thing which really shifted my mind. And like in the last, it's better for me, from my experience, it's better to just set appointments, book appointments and close appointments, right? Doing only that and just nothing else, than doing other things that's going to distract you from that main thing. You could better do nothing than things are going to distract you, right? So like making your website up, tweaking that, or doing some things you really because I can have tons of examples, but you probably know right away from like what those things are, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so what I'll be focusing on the last month, because last month I was still doing like 2K a month, just booking appointments, closing appointments. It's a boring work, but it that's the only thing that's going to make you money, right? Just, and that's the mindset shift I had this last month. And I'm going to use RC to my fullest potential to actually get further than that, because that's not the end goal, right? 10K, it's amazing, it feels great, but there's so much more. It doesn't really change anything for me, my
Yeah.
personal life, right?
Yeah.
So that's
So
what brings me
last month you're at 2K, this month you crossed 10. What is your next goal?
at least 25,
Yeah, 25.
at least. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I had this call today. Didn't ask me like, where you at? Yeah, I'm crossing 10K. I got crossed 10K. It's like, okay, what's your next step? And I was like, oh fuck yeah, I need to think about my next step, right? What else? Do
Yeah,
I need to, run ads or hire a closer? It's like that's what RSCs for. Like they've been there, right? They know the following steps, the next steps you can take to, get to 20, 30K a month, right? So I'm gonna trust in that process and follow the steps, right? Follow the footsteps.
that's
So that,
awesome.
eye opener. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it very much. I appreciate all the insight and the value you shared.
Yeah. It's all good, man. Thanks for having me here again. Been great.